They once worked together a long time ago. They're not friends now. They don't like each other. And yeah, 50 has taken every shot, especially when Diddy has been.
Did Phil explain why he's speaking out now?
He said he's speaking out because he believes Diddy's a predator. He wants accountability, and he doesn't want someone like this to run unchecked in the future.
We were told this footage would never be released. It was too explosive, the legal risks too high. But somewhere between a betrayal inside Diddy's circle and 50 Cent's persistence, the recording that was meant to stay hidden is now public. No one expected this, not the lawyers, the PR teams, or even Diddy himself. On December 1st, 2025, the hip-hop mogul isn't in control from a penthouse. Instead, he's watching his own downfall unfold on a prison TV, while the public sees what happens when the king of control loses the one thing he could never hold onto, the narrative. This isn't just a documentary, it's a public takedown. And the worst part? The person holding the knife isn't a prosecutor. It's his oldest enemy.
Get out in front of this and, try to persuade Netflix not to come forward with it. I think it's an interesting argument because what they're claiming is, Curtis Jackson, aka 50 Cent, has had a long-standing, animosity against Diddy and sort of vice versa. And because he's at the helm, they're arguing this can't be taken seriously. This should sort of be seen as propaganda. And one of the things that Netflix hit back with was, yes, he's the executive producer. He doesn't necessarily have creative control. And that's something we...
The cease and desist landed the day before Sean Combs.
The cease and desist arrived the day before Sean Combs. The reckoning was set to premiere. His lawyers were blunt. This wasn't just a copyright issue. They called it a shameful hit piece using stolen footage never meant for the public. The recordings showed Diddy in the 6 days before his September 2024 arrest talking with his lawyers, venting about losing control, and demanding answers from people he once trusted. This wasn't just behind-the-scenes access. It captured the raw panic of a man who knew the end was near. And it was filmed by cameras he had ordered to track his every move. The ultimate irony. Diddy's obsession with controlling his image became the very tool of his undoing.
So he put his hands on females, put his hands on producers, executives. That's just his. I guess that's what the whole name Bad Boy comes from. That people don't really understand. What is it? What is a bad boy? Why did he choose that name? He never really gave a clear definition of how he feels about that.
The footage didn't just leak, it went viral fast. Clips appeared online within hours, showing Diddy pacing in a hotel suite, snapping at his lawyers, and muttering about finding operatives who handled the dirtiest work. One clip stood out, him recoiling after greeting fans in Harlem, muttering about needing hand sanitizer, as if the people who once loved him had become threats. The contrast was stark, public charm versus private disdain, all in seconds. His legal team argued it violated attorney-client privilege and exposed private strategies. But the damage was done. A man who built his career on controlling his image had been caught unraveling on tape, with no way to spin it. Netflix didn't back down. The response was quick. The footage was obtained legally, the rights secured, and sources protected. Director Alexandria Stapleton made it clear Diddy had spent decades filming himself, building an archive of his own downfall. He wanted someone behind the scenes with him. Now the world is behind the scenes. The documentary team said they tried to contact Combs' legal team multiple times. There was no response. But now that the footage is public, his lawyers spoke up too late. The story had already shifted from whether the allegations were true to just how deep the betrayal went.
The feelings that I have about the documentary, man, it was just old news, and they took a couple of with the footage from Puff from the days that's leading up him to get arrested, and the incidents with the people from the courts, the two people from the courts. So it was nothing new.
Here's the twist. The cameras rolling in those final days were not some secret operation. Diddy had hired a documentarian, Michael Oberle, to film his life for over 2 years. The footage was meant for a future comeback story. But in December 2024, Oberle revealed something shocking. The leak did not come from him. It came from someone inside Diddy's circle. A third party stepped into cover for Oberle while he was out of state for just 3 days. That short window was enough. Someone saw an opportunity, whether for money, revenge, or chaos, and handed the most damaging footage directly to 50 Cent's team. Oberle called it a betrayal of integrity. Many others called it karma. And then there's 50 Cent, the mastermind behind it all. He didn't just produce the documentary, he carefully planned its release. The ABC interview promoting The Reckoning was no accident. It aired on Good Morning America, one of the few networks shown in federal prisons. 50 Cent knew exactly where Diddy would be watching.
Hank and Freed were in the unit that was 1 floor above mine. So in terms of like the setting, it's a fairly decent chance that the room I'm describing is similar to where Diddy is. Yeah.
By December 8th, he was mocking the plan on Instagram, posting memes about prison TV access. This wasn't just about revealing the truth, it was about making sure Diddy couldn't escape it, even behind bars.
This is the flight where Diddy said to her, he testified that he showed her a video of a freak-off that she participated in and said, if you don't participate in another freak-off when we get to New York, I'm gonna put this video out. I'm gonna send it to your mother.
And that's coercion.
She testified
if it's true.
to that.
If the jury
they believed her,
yeah.
That's coercion. They would have casting.
The documentary didn't just repeat old allegations, it put them in a new, inescapable context. Take the white parties, the invite-only events where stars like Justin Bieber and Mariah Carey mingled with industry leaders. Neighbors had called the police 14 times over 7 years for confused guests wandering into the streets at dawn. The footage linked these events to lawsuits, a 16-year-old alleging coercion in 1998, a security guard claiming assault in 2006, and a former adult film performer describing grooming at multiple events. The pattern was not just troubling, it was systemic. In pre-arrest recordings, Diddy himself said to his lawyers, "We're losing," showing he knew the walls were closing in. Not if, we are. Then came the family betrayals. On December 6, Janice Combs, Diddy's 85-year-old mother, spoke out, calling the documentary's claims about her parenting lies. She described herself as a hardworking single mom who took 4 jobs to give her son opportunities. But footage told a different story. In a clip from inside the actor studio, she joked about giving Diddy beatings as a child, laughing with him. The contrast was sharp. The loving mother versus what former Bad Boy executive Kirk Burrows claimed seeing Diddy slapped in a 1991 hotel room, with Janice calling him a derogatory name after the City College incident. Janice denied it, calling Burrows a liar with financial motives, since he had been suing Diddy over Bad Boy records since 2003. But the question remained, why invent such a specific, humiliating detail unless he saw it happen?
Look at how many people he affected negatively. That was his trade-off, to gain what he had. His former bodyguard, Gene Deal, said he seen him doing a ritual where they dove. What is that? And I feel like it's being overlooked because they see him doing the dance moves with the baggy clothes. You know, some of the ladies in his videos were trans ladies.
The documentary didn't just focus on the past, it exposed the present too. Diddy's own security team turned on him. Roger Bonds, his former head of security, spoke about the trauma of working for Bad Boy and the things he couldn't unsee. His voice broke as he described the environment. It wasn't just Sean that's guilty, they're all guilty. Meanwhile, Quay from Day 26 shared in interviews about strange emails, waking up in Diddy's twins' bedroom after blacking out, with cameras rolling as he screamed. The group's lawyer had no comment, but they didn't need one. The footage of Quay crying, the fear in his voice, spoke for itself. Then there's Usher, who lived with Diddy at 13. On Howard Stern's show, he described things no preteen should see, doors opening to encounters and parties that crossed the line. He joked about never letting his own kids near puppy camp. Now, with Diddy behind bars, those old clips carry new weight. Usher hadn't just seen the lifestyle, he'd seen the system behind it.
And so what I want to say to Justin Bieber and to everybody that's following the situation is that Justin Bieber is a victim. I was horrified when I saw this, not because of the idea that Justin Bieber would be engaged in these sorts of things at these parties, but because I understood that this was a kid who was intentionally targeted.
The documentary showed how power-bent people and loyalty became a weapon. Usher never named names, but the implications lingered until the film connected the dots. The industry's silence spoke volumes. Ja Rule called 50 a dry snitch. Marlon warned about karma, only to get pulled into a social media feud when 50 shared old clips of him at Diddy's parties. Joe Budden, one of the few speaking on record, said the documentary didn't just expose Diddy's actions, it exposed the system that let them happen. Labels, lawyers, and artists looked the other way because the checks cleared. Complicity wasn't a side note, it was the foundation. By mid-December, the fallout was everywhere. Diddy's legal team threatened lawsuits, but it felt empty. They'd already lost the PR battle. The documentary was #1 on Netflix in the US and UK. Civil cases piled up, and LA County opened a new investigation. Meanwhile, in a New Jersey prison, Diddy watched it all on a grainy TV, knowing his rival had orchestrated every second of his public downfall. The ultimate power move, making your enemy watch his own destruction. There's one thing no one's talking about. All the leaked footage, the legal talks, the Harlem hand sanitizer clip, the mother's denial, is a distraction. The real clip Diddy's team fears hasn't surfaced. Buried in hours of raw recordings is a conversation no one was supposed to hear, not the public, not prosecutors, not even those in the room. And if the documentary sources are right, it doesn't just implicate Diddy, the footage drags someone else into the fire, someone with enough power to make this scandal look small. The question isn't just what's on the tape, but who will pay to keep it hidden. In an industry built on secrets, that kind of leverage can start wars. When the footage hit the internet, everything shifted, not just for Diddy, but for everyone who had been around him. Empires built on silence only last as long as people stay quiet. Now, the dam isn't just cracking, it's collapsing. The recordings didn't just show Diddy's panic, they gave permission to everyone who had hesitated to speak. Whispers became voices, lawsuits, interviews, testimonies from former proteges, their voices shaking but unstoppable. The more they spoke, the clearer it became. This wasn't just about one man. It was a system that allowed it all to happen for decades, where loyalty meant looking the other way and speaking up always came at a higher cost than staying silent.
And so the judge again seemed to be taking that matter pretty seriously and just pretty much said that, everyone, the judge, the attorneys, the witnesses' attorneys, the accusers' attorneys, they all have to adhere to these professional rules. They all have to adhere to this professional conduct. And if this continues and if more things are said that...
Let's start with the family, where the contradictions are strongest. Janice Combs, Diddy's mother, has spent weeks denying the documentary's claims, calling them lies and saying she worked 4 jobs to give her son a better life. But her own words tell a different story. In a resurfaced inside the actor studio clip, she laughs with Diddy as she admits he got a lot of beatings, hardly the image of nurturing love she's now promoting. Then there's Kirk Burrows, former Bad Boy executive, who says he saw Diddy slap Janice in a 1991 hotel room after the City College incident, using a name no son should hear. Janice calls Burrows a liar, insisting he's only after money. He's been suing Diddy since 2003 over his share of the label. But here's the question: why would a man make up something so specific and humiliating unless he actually saw it? And if he did see it, what does that say about the world Diddy grew up in, and the one he later created for others? This isn't just about Janice. It's about the household she ran. Kim Patterson, Diddy's childhood friend, described parties at the Combs home that felt more like crime gatherings than family events. Pimps, dealers, drinks flowing, while a young Diddy watched and learned. Patterson said it was like living in a movie that never ended. That's where Diddy learned power and control. It's no surprise that his own parties decades later, the infamous white parties, had the same chaos, the same mix of celebration and exploitation, and the same rule. Everyone inside had to play by his rules, no questions asked.
Come out and collect everybody's phone. So now it's just your word against a billionaire. You're gonna lose. Read this right there. From that young man.
And that's when the dominoes start to fall. The white parties weren't just famous, they were infamous for a reason. Neighbors called the police 14 times over 7 years for disoriented guests stumbling into the streets at dawn. The real stories come from those inside. A 16-year-old claimed in a 2024 lawsuit that Diddy cornered him at the first white party in 1998, calling it his rite of passage to start. A former adult film performer said she was groomed into a trafficking operation at multiple events, where drinks were allegedly laced and exits unclear. These weren't isolated incidents, they were a pattern. And Diddy's pre-arrest meltdown footage doesn't just show fear of prison. It shows a man who knows his blueprint is about to be exposed. Here's what's even more damning. The people who once enabled it are now distancing themselves fast. Usher, who lived with Diddy at 13, told Howard Stern years ago about things no teenager should see, doors opening to encounters he couldn't understand and a wild lifestyle. Now, with the documentary bringing those clips back, his silence speaks volumes. Justin Bieber even unfollowed Usher on Instagram, cutting another connection to Diddy's past. And Cassie's 2023 lawsuit against Diddy for abuse and control didn't just make headlines, it gave others the courage to come forward.
In the book, Porter allegedly recounts discovering and making copies of the tapes that Diddy made of himself having with young boys that he was managing, including an alleged tape involving an 18-year-old pop star.
If a woman in Diddy's inner circle for a decade could speak out, what was stopping anyone else? That's the real reckoning. This isn't just about Diddy's actions, it's about the system that protected him. Lawyers quietly settling cases, labels looking the other way, and artists staying loyal because speaking up could ruin their careers. Take Quay from Day 26. He broke down in interviews, talking about cryptic emails, waking up in Diddy's twins' bedroom after blacking out, with cameras rolling as he screamed. His trauma isn't just personal, it's a metaphor for what happened to so many others. The group's lawyer didn't comment, they didn't need to. Quay's tears said it all. Now, with the documentary giving these stories a platform, the question isn't just what Diddy did, it's who helped him and who is still helping him.
The lawsuit specifically challenges allegations suggesting that Mr. Combs and his involvement in the 2018 of his former partner Kim Porter, whose passing was officially attributed to natural causes by the Los Angeles County.
The real reason people stay silent, or suddenly speak up, is money and survival. Kirk Burrows isn't the only one suing. Former associates, ex-employees, and even family members have spent years in legal battles over stakes in Diddy's empire. Now, with the empire crumbling, those lawsuits aren't just about justice, they're about recouping losses and making sure that if Diddy goes down, they don't go down with him. The timing is clear, the documentary drops, and people who've stayed quiet for years start talking. This is people cutting their losses, rewriting their roles, and making sure they end up on the right side of history, or at least the right side of a paycheck. And there's still footage we haven't seen. If the pre-arrest recordings were this damning, imagine what else is out there. Diddy has been filming himself obsessively since he was 19, every party, meeting, and late-night strategy session. Documentary team hints there's much more. And if sources are right, it's not just Diddy on those tapes, it's the people around him. The ones who laughed, looked the other way, or even took part, all with careers to protect. So ask yourself, how much are they willing to pay to keep those recordings buried? And what happens when the price is too high, or when betrayal is worth more than loyalty? Power only works as long as people enforce it, and Diddy's inner circle isn't just cracking, it's turning on itself. Roger Bonds, his former head of security, broke down on camera about the trauma of working for Bad Boy. It wasn't just Sean that's guilty, they're all guilty, he said. If a man paid to protect Diddy is saying that, what will the others reveal? The road managers, assistants, or artists who started under his label but left with stories they've never told? The documentary might be over, but the reckoning is just beginning. And the biggest question remains, who's next? Diddy didn't act alone. The white parties weren't just his events, they were industry events. The emails about sacrificial rituals weren't sent to him alone. The lawsuits don't only name him. When the FBI raided his homes in 2024, what else did they find? Whose names were in those files? How many people are now sweating, wondering if their pasts will go public? The documentary may focus on Diddy, but the fallout won't stop with him. This is bigger than one man. It's about an era of music music where the rules were made by people who thought they'd never face consequences. Now the rules have changed. So where does that leave us? A man in prison, a family in denial, and an industry holding its breath. While footage that's already rewritten history and more tapes could destroy what's left, artists who once owed everything to Diddy are now acting like they barely knew him, and fans are left wondering how much of the music they loved was built on something darker. The documentary gave answers, but also raised more questions. What happens when the last loyalist turns? When the final NDA expires? When the next tape drops? One thing is certain, Diddy isn't the only one who should be worried. If this much came out while he still had power, imagine what's coming now that he doesn't. So how far does this go? Are we seeing the fall of one man, or the unraveling of an entire system? When the dust settles, who will be left standing? Drop your theories in the comments. This story isn't over. And remember, stay sharp, stay skeptical, and never forget, the loudest secrets are the ones nobody wanted you to hear. We'll see you next time.